Hello and welcome to yet another monthly manga Dorf-scussion. I am your host Craftsdorf, yet again. We've got Nunmanji,
Hello.
we've got George,
I would like my full nickname said out loud.
oh, okay. We've got political racist George.
Yes, that is me.
We've got chair magic user, aka Kibi,
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me.
and then we've got SDMG, the T cultist.
Howdy.
Yes. All right. So we were going to discuss all of Phoenix, but then it turns out it's actually like, even though it's 12 volumes, said volumes are like 300 to 400 pages each, which is double the length I'm used to from a volume. So we're doing half of Phoenix, just volumes 1 through 6, which is shit, I can't remember. Dawn, Future,
Yamamoto or whatever.
Yamamoto Space,
Nostalgia, Karma.
Nostalgia, Karma, and Resurrection. I think that's all of them. So 7 stories, 6 volumes. Probably we're gonna discuss them one at a time. So yeah, well, I guess first overall thought. Have any of us read any of Phoenix before? Because I'm pretty sure this is the first time for all of us, right?
No, I have not.
I read Dawn like 6 months ago, I think.
Oh yes, you were posting some images from it. That's right. Did you reread
Yeah.
it or?
I reread it because I
Gotcha.
think I wasn't used to Tezuka's pacing, so the first time I read it, I was like, "What?" So
Oh
it
right,
was
and then
better for me this time around.
and then you'd also done Blackjack, so you're a bit more familiar with his style. So a little bit of Blackjack, so that makes sense. Because I have read other Tezuka stuff. I've read Blackjack ages ago, Adolf, Alabaster. I think that's it. And then so this is my first time on Phoenix, and it was good. Again, we're only halfway through the story, so I guess I mean we can do like a ranking of like which ones we enjoyed the most to least, I suppose, later at the end. But for now, so yeah, first thoughts on Dawn, Volume 1, or overall, I guess we could start the discussion. So yeah, I guess a quick overview. Dawn is like, so, or I guess they talk about the structure in like the end some of the interviews at the end, and like how it's really interesting how it's structured, because I've never seen anything like it, because it's like the Dawn is the chronologically the first story, and then it goes to volume 2, which is Future, which is chronologically the last story, sort of. And then it kind of like goes back and forth between it's like heading towards a middle point. So like the third story is, chronologically the second one, and then the third or the fourth story is chronologically the second to last one. And then the idea, I guess, it was going to keep going back and forth until it eventually hits the modern times. But Tezuka fucking died, so we never got to see that story.
There's the last one is being published as a novel, I think.
Yes, that was very recently announced, like after within the last week, that someone is going to take a shot at it. So, which might
What
be
a
interesting.
development.
What a development. Yes, Tezuka is having his story finished from the grave. Neat.
Yeah, the author
His story has resurrected like a phoenix.
God damn it. Whoa.
Hilarious.
Literature never dies, so it can't resurrect.
Yeah, the author wrote a goth lolly detective novel, I think. So I was like, okay.
Oh, the author of the new Phoenix. Okay, that's an interesting choice.
He's up to the task. I believe in him.
I mean, Tezuka was a weird. Well, like honestly, I like Tezuka's stuff, but it's definitely different. Like you can kind of see where he like there's aspects to his work where it's like, oh yeah, I've seen that. Like I wonder if Buddhism being so common in manga is that Japanese culture, or is that part of Tezuka? Because he seems, especially considering Karma and the fact that he did a manga Buddha, he definitely seems to be pretty into Buddhism.
Yeah.
So, and it's not like I just see that idea commonly in other stuff. Like, no, once I recognize, oh yeah, that's a Buddhist idea. Like, now I'm seeing it everywhere.
Yeah. One slight fun fact: I was looking through Buddha with my friend, and there was like a lot of nudity, like constant. It was fun.
Nudity, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, fun. Not that we were shy of nudity here in Phoenix either.
True.
So
Yes, we saw many a nipple.
yes, of of many a different age of nipple.
Oh, okay.
There
Age
was-
is just.
Now, Craft's bringing up the age.
Louis.
There goes age restriction, I guess.
Oh, whoops! We don't have Annie here to censor us. Oh, very sad. Anyway, so yeah, Volume 1 Dawn. We get introduced to the Phoenix. We have, shit. I'm trying to remember the characters. Gao.
MD.
Or no, Gao is Volume 4, motherfucker.
Nagi and Saruta,
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
Saruta is a name shared by many people, so should we give them all nicknames?
I mean, no, we'll know who we're talking
Well,
about
We're
based
going
on
volume
like
by volume, so let's just all
yeah,
follow.
Saruto of
Yeah.
Dawn, Saruto of Future. Some of them do have different names too. So
Here, I wanted to give them different nicknames.
You
You've
can call this
disappointed
one
me.
Whitebeard if you want.
Okay, we can call him like.
fair. Okay, so we got Whitebeard, we got Nagi, Princess Himiko.
She was a bitch.
She was great.
Oh, yeah.
I hated her. She was so petty and well, I remember a while ago, George, you framed you were talking about some of her scenes and how they're kind of framed like a play, which was very fitting considering they were so melodramatic, where she's crying and flipping emotions on a dime. It's just so
Yeah.
exaggerated. Not that his Tezuka stuff isn't exaggerated normally, but there it felt deliberate, And then we also, I believe you found the one link which was talking about how she had the sacred treasures of Japan, but they were just window dressing. They were, because she didn't care about. It was just a mirror, to reflect her beauty because she's a petty bitch.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for months I was like, why the fuck was 6 pages dedicated to the fucking mirror? Does that mean something? So yeah, that was fun figuring that. I guess learning that.
We also got the hunter. He's a cool guy.
Oh yeah, he's cool.
Oh yeah, he was gonna.
You know who he reminded me of? He reminded me of that bard from the Lord of the Rings thing. The guy who just popped in and killed the dragon.
Oh, I guess I can kind of see that. Yeah.
He reminded me of Hisoka from Hunter.
Oh,
This incredible badass who just does whatever he wants. He's just driven by fighting people, I guess.
Interesting. But yeah, there was a lot of just shit happening. There was at the start there was just some sort of folk medicine and science betting against tradition. I love the early there was the doctor comes in and he's like, we can save her with this, and he's like, what's that superstition? And what are you guys doing then? And we were praying to this cat skull underneath a bird skull, and that was gonna cure her. And it's God, Tezuka's very tongue in cheek.
To be fair, he was like, I'm gonna use mold to cure her, so I'll be like,
which sounds completely radical and strange, but then of course we know about penicillin, but these are fucking cave people, pretty much borderline, and I just love the tongue-in-cheekness of it because he does that later in when was it? I had it in my brain, but then I lost it. Oh no, it was in Future, literally the next volume, where he's you have the two robot gods who are basically one of them's fucking called Hallelujah. No, nothing really is here. And the two leaders are talking, and it's no, mine's correct, and well, mine says this, so your guy must be wrong. And he's like, what? How dare you say that my robot god is wrong? And they go to fucking war, and it's oh gee, it's someone. What's going on here?
Whoa, never noticed that. I just thought it was just a bunch of robots who just randomly thought things.
But anyway, so Dawn was good. Trying to think if I had it. Yeah.
I like the brother character, brother Prince guy. He went blind.
Who just didn't give a fuck about his.
fought an army for a little bit. So I was like, whoa, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, there was also he explicitly points out basically the war and violence involved in the founding of Japan, basically. And he kind of talks about how, like, I think he just overall throughout the manga he criticizes like mythologizing the past, which is often a basis for people pushing traditional ideals by calling attention to, oh yeah, the past was better, but which era, in what way, they never specify. So
Yeah,
I
like
think he was trying to
Ooh.
criticize that.
Say that one more time. I didn't catch that.
The last, okay. So what I was saying was, like, people who put traditional ideals always talk about
Hmm.
how the past was better in this very vague way, or in this, like, it was better but not a specific period. So I think throughout the manga, Tezuka's like systematically going through Japan's history, like, this was shit, this was shit, this was
Yeah,
shit.
he's very critical of a lot of aspects of like like this hey look, Japan was formed by massacre and
Yeah,
brutality, like and then he does it throughout pretty much. Like Karma was another one where he criticizes the rise of Buddhism and how it wasn't very close to Buddhistic ideals in the least. Um it was very political, very
yeah,
showings of power, and trying to get unity with the people under the rulers. So
yeah.
just
Like a big statue is just a symbol of power of the higher upper class rather than for the people,
or
basically.
yeah, right. The Buddha was crying. So anyway, but that's a little bit ahead. Okay. Also, I gotta say, like I think maybe I got used to it because again, it's been a while since I read anything Tezuka. Some of the humor was
Yeah. Right now I'm looking at a picture of a pig with cans strapped to it in Dawn. That doesn't make sense, but I mean, we get it.
I think the one that got me was well, I mentioned this before, but like Sarita comes in and massacres everyone, or I believe it's Sarita, and then he's like, "All right, done with that. Time to go back and read James Bond." And it's just like, "Wait, excuse me, sir. What the fuck did you say?"
Yeah, I even looked it up. Was there James Bond movies released in that era? And they were like, yeah, there were like at least three. Oh, good
Yeah.
to know.
Or a real one was like, sorry, like a
Oh,
one.
go ahead.
Sorry. One where that stuck out to me, the big one, was like the guy ED or something, XD, was trying to save his like wife who he betrayed, and he's trying to get her out of the drowning fire pit.
The
And
boiling water that like is like
yes,
it's definite death, and then fucking go on. I know.
yeah. Then Tezuka's just in there bathing, and
He's
before modern times, just there. He pushes him out of the way in a comical way, and then we never talk about it.
yeah.
Yeah, the
Another
humor
weird
seems
one.
to go down over time too.
Yeah, he
Like
does a lot of
the
meta stuff
volumes.
too. And
Yeah.
yeah, he puts himself in his work. And I was gonna say another weird one was the wolves, where the wolves were descending, and then he
Oh,
just drew them in like 5 or 6
yeah.
different styles, like Disney style, Kabuki style, ninja
I, I
style.
I thought that was pretty funny, even though it
It
didn't make
was,
Yeah.
sense.
it was funny. I was like mulling over it for like looking over it for like a minute, just like why, why did you do this? I don't understand.
He did it to make Sarota more sympathetic, I guess. Like every time he does something really fucked up, he kind of like puts a joke in there, I guess.
Maybe because yeah, that Sarita does eventually get redeemed.
Yeah, he gets the most badass Japanese death he can get, so I
Yes,
guess that
the
was fine.
shit. What was the name of the original historical guy or who did it? Supposedly died that way.
King, I
Ben.
think.
Yes, that was it. Yes, it's cool. It was cool. Yes. Um,
Yeah. There's
So
also
about
stuff
the
about. Oh yeah, go on, Kitty.
humor, do you guys think it was like something Tezuka thought he had to do to draw in the crowds because the medium was so new or something? Because he doesn't do the humor thing as much later in the books as it goes on. So I'm thinking maybe he got more confidence and felt he could tell a serious story without having to entertain constantly, or is it just something he wanted to do?
Maybe like because the editor could have been like part of that too, because he's like
Yeah.
there in one chapter of Blackjack. There's like 10 pages go by without Blackjack showing up, and then there's like a single page of like a big cliff, and at the bottom of the cliff is Tezuka talking with his editor. And his editor's like, this is a Blackjack chapter, right? And Tezuka's like, yes, he's showing up later, just keep reading. Like he put the conversation he had with his editor in the manga as like a weird meta thing.
I'm pretty sure he had more freedom in this because he started this magazine, the One Piece is
That's right.
publishing with a bunch of friends, I think. So
Okay.
yeah, it was supposed to be this avant-garde thing. So I'm pretty sure he had more freedom, which is probably why he could shit on Japan so much.
True.
Yeah.
And yeah, that would then the humor would be his own choice then. So I mean, yeah, maybe it is there to hook the audience early on. Maybe it is also to undercut like the dark shit, because it's pretty, this story is pretty dark.
They all are.
They all
Ooh.
are. That's what, yeah, the whole thing.
Instead
I'm actually
of
surprised when there's not a massive slaughter of each volume. I was like, okay, that's not there.
Not that many people died this volume. That's funny.
Yeah.
we should have a ranking of the darkest volumes in order.
I mean, nostalgia would probably win, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah.
Nostalgia was messed up.
I don't know. I think Future can hold its own.
Future is also a special kind of messed up.
Yep.
But yeah,
Dawn.
But yeah, Dawn definitely introduces a lot of the ideas. Not that I necessarily have something cohesive to say about all of them, but like one commonality that seemed to be recurring was how like women are portrayed in the story, about how like the ability to give birth is like power in a sense. Like at the end of Dawn, you had like the woman who was she said to the conqueror guy, she said like, we will raise our children so that they will one day destroy you. And of course, in fucking nostalgia, you have a woman who builds a civilization on, I don't know, Tezuka's going somewhere. Maybe
I mean, like, there's a high
or,
value on continuing the continuing the advancement of humanity. So it's your
and
duty
women are
to
required
have
for that.
yeah.
True, because that's the whole thing, is we find out in future sort of how the universe fucking works in Tezuka's world, where, and also I guess it's also true of like resurrection, or not resurrection, karma, because of reincarnation. So which also requires a being to give birth. So
like one thing the woman said was like that they would, like, the wives of the captured country will raise the children that they birth, and they'll teach the kids to hate their fathers, I think. And I was like, I'm not sure if that's a thing. I mean, like, I'm not sure that happens successfully. Like most people.
Yeah, probably not. No, the conquered nation usually remains conquered, at least, especially if it's for a long period of time. So
yeah, I mean, rebellions do happen, but yeah,
they're usually, like, to my knowledge, they're more recent than than if they happen at all. Like, it's more like the country takes power and is toppled relatively, by internal, or at least their internal rebellion happens more quickly, because after time goes on, people just grow complacent. So
yeah. Also, you don't have much time to plan a rebellion if you're working the farm constantly, or whatever kind of labor you have. Oh yeah, a fun fact I wanted to bring up was Tezuka talks about the, I guess, quote unquote, indigenous people of the land of Japan. So I think I think 2013, The Golden Kamuy was released, which is a manga where one of the main characters is like the indigenous Japanese, one of the indigenous Japanese tribes people. So that's fun. That won a Tezuka Award, I think, in 2017. So that's a fun fact.
Oh, neat. I didn't know, because I didn't know about that little connection. I did know about Golden Kamuy. I haven't read it, but I did read an article talking about that aspect, like how Golden Kamuy has bears in it, I guess, a lot, and that was a sacred icon to some of the indigenous peoples of Japan.
Yeah.
So
they also fight the bear, which is also
and The things happen to bears in that story, apparently.
Yeah,
I haven't read it though.
yeah. It's pretty fun. Yeah.
I also like the ending to Dawn, where you have the family inside the hole, and the one he climbs out. You know, he fights for his right to live, pretty much, and it was cool. Just a cool moment where he climbs out and just gets over the wall, and he's boom. And then I think it gets mentioned later. In oh, that's right, because that was the
Yamato.
village. Yes, in
Yeah, that was the
yes.
guy who started the village in Yamato.
Yes, so
So yeah.
that life continued to fight onwards from that cave and just the lineage of succession. So that was cool. I love all
One
the little
thing,
connections. Or go on.
yeah.
One thing.
One thing I wasn't sure about was Nagi's death, and just like the his sisters over like emphasis on carrying on the lineage in the land. So I was wondering
Yeah.
if Tezuka was pushing for they should have run away, especially when Sausa found out that it was raining, so his plan wouldn't have worked. So is he pushing that they should have run away and started their village somewhere else? Or yeah, I'm not too sure what was going on there. Like I understood it plot wise, but I don't understand what he's trying to push thematically, I guess.
Wait,
What do you
didn't they
guys?
eat? Sorry, didn't they eat their babies in the hole?
I mean the dead
No,
babies,
there
I
were
guess.
there. Oh yeah, and there were animals there too.
Yeah.
Because they were stuck in the hole at first, and then they broke out into an area where there was
Yes.
sunlight and grass, and that's where they were actually able to
Yes.
live. But
Yes.
until it
But
got to
I.
that point, it was fucked up until that point.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
really lucked out there. I was.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
Phoenix. Fucked up shit happens, and characters just fucking try to live. Try to fight for that right to live.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of Phoenix,
we actually haven't mentioned the Phoenix much at all, have we?
yeah, I was just about to say I want to talk about her and her characterization. I mean, she seems
She's
kind of. Oh, go on.
or I was gonna. It's basically God. I mean, especially in future. But
Yeah, in the
is it
is it?
future.
called a she in the manga?
Yeah,
It seems that I don't remember, but it has like the eyes make me think feminine. Or
I'm,
the
I'm
eyelashes specifically.
I'm pretty sure they do say she, the human characters at least. But what do they know? They get
Did they
killed.
just assume it's gender?
Well,
Must be
Anyway.
why they all get killed by it. But specifically, I want to think. I feel like it's like I don't know. I want to say it's inconsistent, but I feel like it might be. I'm specifically thinking of the moment where she's like the Phoenix is gets caught by the hunter and she tries to bargain and or something. I don't know. It felt weird. There were other
I guess
moments
he
too.
was testing him, so why he wanted like I think Phoenix is just curious because sometimes he just asks questions. So I'm wondering if he's all knowing. Like it's
He's,
different from Christian God, where he is all knowing. I guess.
I'm pretty sure the Phoenix is not all knowing. I think he's just been around the block a few times.
Yeah.
All that rebirth. But also, the first time we meet the Phoenix, she basically like murders a guy who's trying to catch her, but she doesn't try to talk to him the way she does Nike, so I wonder what that's about. Or does she try to talk to him?
I feel like the Phoenix in general is just kind of selfish and
Yes. I've got
if
that
she
idea too.
likes you, she'll try to reason with you, even if you're you're like doing bad things. But like if she doesn't like you, then she'll just not care and do
I think
whatever.
Nagi was more important because he was one of the last of his people, quote unquote. But the hunter guy would just want to save one person. So I
Yeah.
think Phoenix is like, I care about the collective rather than one or two people dying because everyone dies eventually. So
I
I think
wonder if
that
how
was
the Phoenix is written changes between whether it's like the past or the future. like volumes, like maybe the Phoenix changed as throughout like the vast length of time. So, but
Whoa, God
I'm
having character development. Damn.
yeah, but it's like it would be weird because of how the story is structured. Because chronologically, Future is the last volume the Phoenix appears in, but we don't know, haven't obviously not all the volumes were even written. So I don't know, maybe that's a possibility. Like I would be really interested in the alternate universe where Tezuka lived to finish Phoenix, and I would be
Oh yeah,
interested
I
in reading
think
it.
also time is weird. So like, what is
Yeah.
time for Phoenix? Like he says, I think he mentions time wasn't linear for him, but I don't remember where.
Well,
If
it
he
could
said
be
that
like
though.
a kind of circle, like that's what it seems to be in Future, where
Yes.
it seems like, oh, this is the end, but no, it's also the beginning, the death. But then is it a new universe, or is it, or what's going how exactly is like the sun can't last
So
forever.
Yeah. But, well,
yeah.
maybe it does in the Phoenix universe because like
True.
Sun is fire, Phoenix is fire. Maybe it's the same dealio. But there's like each story is like bridged together throughout the stuff. Like Future and Dawn bridge together due to the thing, and well, I guess there's a little gap in the middle now that I think it through. But I seem to think that yeah, because actually never mind, because Garo sees Dr. Saruta, the old man from Future, in his visions, and Phoenix tells him the vision like it's a future thing. So I'm pretty sure it's like a circle thing,
Okay, yeah, that makes
like
sense.
the universe. Since like the Phoenix is just the world or the universe in miniature, the world also goes through a rebirth cycle like Phoenix does.
Hmm. Oh yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Makes sense, but at the same time, we can't be 100% sure because, like, at the end of every volume, Suzuki even says, like, please wait to critique it until it is over, and it's not over still. So fuck, damn it,
Yeah, I can never
Tezuka.
critique it then.
Oh,
Exactly.
dang it, he got us.
Poor,
No.
Tezuka died before we could critique it, motherfucker. Maybe you should be the
Alright.
Phoenix and be reborn. Where's your Buddhist reincarnation now? Oh no, that's mean. I'm sorry.
Wait, maybe the lolly zombie monster author is Tezuka.
We need to check out birth year and death day year real quick. That would be interesting.
Or what if Tezuka escaped the cycle of rebirth, man? Isn't that like the end goal of Buddhism or something?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I guess regarding the Phoenix itself, because like the whole thing with immortality is like it's very against Buddhism. Because Buddhism is all about that reincarnation and shit. And so of course all the characters who try to get that immortality fucking die.
Except for the one guy who didn't die.
True. True.
Poor guy lived forever.
Yeah.
So anything else on Dawn? I feel like we have a lot of stories to get through.
We do. We do.
The only
Oh
difference
yeah, one
between
last. Yeah,
oh,
I'll just go first. One last comment was that the comedy aspect we mentioned, which we mentioned that goes away over time, that might be because like it's still a shonen story. So in 20 years, when the later volumes were, they might have been like, okay, the kids who read this are grown up, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna reduce the comedy, I guess.
Makes sense.
It was also released over like I'm looking at the I'm looking at the dates that the volumes were released, and like the first Dawn and Future released in '67, and 11 and 10, which are the last one. Like 12 is the last one, but it's called Early Works, so it's basically like, so I don't know exactly what it is. So 10 and 11 are technically the last ones, and they were released in '86. So that's like that's 19 years of publication for this story. So
So yeah, and that's pretty common in shonen stories for the comedy aspect to go down sort of over time.
yeah. Though for reference, Nostalgia was 71, so these stories were all written in like 4 years. So I guess he stopped Phoenix for a while and did something else.
Maybe Blackjack or Astro Boy. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe
Astro Boy he did before.
that would have been first. Yeah, you're right.
Let's see.
All right,
Who even
so
knows? He wrote like 10 pages a day.
Nunmanji or SDMG, do you guys have final thoughts on Dawn?
Nope.
I don't think particularly.
Okay, that's fine. All right, let's move on to future, which is probably might be my favorite. It's close, if it's not my favorite one, because holy shit, future
Yeah.
Pretty
goes
neat.
gets fucking wild. Okay.
Yes. The end times. Good times. No
Because
time.
it starts out interesting with this like future society. It's also nostalgic for the past because they're doing they're like trying to emulate the 21st century
And
through like their fashion and shit because the present sucks. You were gonna say
Yeah.
something or
well, Tezuka's nephew was there, or his child or something.
oh
So
really that okay
Yeah, in the first page, there's like his 30th generation something there.
I found that pretty humorous.
Yeah.
oh that's right I remember yeah
And conceptually, the idea of tall buildings on the ground is really cool to me. I
yeah
just kept thinking about it over time and how in Karma he talks about how the tall building is a symbol of power because it's closer to God basically, right? It's close to heaven, closer to God. So
but
like the
underground
expectation
it's
is
like yeah
yeah the
it's or not
expectation
or it's like they're as close to God as they can get without actually going to the surface. So they're still actually lower in a sense because humanity's been seen better days.
yeah, like the trope is like the upper class lives in taller buildings, like in the taller parts of the buildings. Not true now, but still whatever. So, yeah, I think the idea is going for is like, the idea is like the people at the top can pull you up over time if you like listen to them. But in this world, the upper world is fucked. Everyone is just like close to the surface as possible, and the lower class gets pushed further and further down to hell. So that's what I got out of it, I think.
Interesting. Um, but yeah, I want
World
to.
evolved long enough to fully like the world in that city isn't developed enough for me to get as much out of it to confirm that, I guess. Like it doesn't bring up class struggle much in this one, I think.
Yeah, he doesn't really go for that angle. He more goes for like you have Sarta who's trying to replicate life, but he can't. He's unable to. Like man cannot play God, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like
There was
also
also a Ray
one.
Bradbury reference. That was fun.
Also, I've been rereading Akira, and so between that and like Phoenix, I've not like I feel maybe it's an environmentalism thing, but I feel like a few decades ago there's this fear of like humanity growing too quickly and destroying itself, and like because that's both or because that's like especially with the what was it, the mushrooms or the squids or what was the race of people that no. In later on, no, they were like they were slugs.
What were they?
After fucking what's his face?
When the
What
world
was
goes to shit and there's a new
Masato basically.
intelligence.
Right, humanity dies and Masato he's God and eventually a slug race comes and he's trying to warn them like, hey, don't do what
Oh,
humanity did, and then they do the same thing. They advance too quickly on this old science and exterminate themselves. And I'm noticing that in Akira too, like that human desire to consume more or less. So it feels like, and I guess it makes sense, especially considering the environmental concerns that would have been rising around the time, because Tezuka
Yeah,
does have some environmentalism in
yeah,
his
around
stuff.
this time, what happened was that throughout the world, so medicine reached most of the world, started reaching most of the world. So the people who had 7 to 8 kids in the past, they weren't dying anymore, which was the reason for having 7
Right, like kids weren't dying, old people weren't
So
dying, so they were living longer.
yeah,
So life expenses, so and then of course that alongside the fact that Earth's resources are limited, and so that kind of is reflected in that anxiety, I suppose, is reflected in these works.
yeah. Although like population eventually stops growing because people stop having 7 to 8 kids, especially like over time. Like once like healthcare is safe, you're like, okay, I don't need to have 7 kids for insurance anymore. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I already mentioned the whole. Oh yeah, I liked how like we got the like the conflicts between two of the nations, and like how we saw exactly how it like led to their destruction. But then at the same time, the other three nations got destroyed at exactly the same time, exactly the same way, despite being 100% disconnected. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Actually,
Yeah.
that led me to believe that there's a conspiracy between the 5 robot overlords because, well, I mean, it's not very, it's stupid, but I don't know. They all should be like all knowing or something, and yet they argue like humans. And
I took it as like since the computers are designed by humans and they're designed on the human brain presumably, they're gonna act like humans, like we do, because we're inherently
Yeah,
flawed. So they're based on our logic.
yeah, like the humans see them as perfect, but no, they're flawed. Like if they were perfect, then they would never disagree. Yet they do. Like because that's also again going to the religion thing. Like to get super atheist here, religion is a human construct. That's why it's imperfect because it's made by because it's interesting how God sort of like was power scaled over the years because back in the Bible, like he's flawed and human, but as we came to understand more nature of the universe, he had to become this omniscient, all-powerful. Like I'm talking about the Christian God, I suppose, but he had to become this omniscient, all-powerful, all-existing, impossible, like almost Lovecraftian thing because our knowledge of the universe was too much, and God had to surpass that knowledge. So, like in a
Yeah.
way, so like the idea that there was, like back in the day, they were like, oh, the pagan gods do exist, but our gods is stronger. And now it's like, no, they don't exist at all. So it's like, just how religion has sort of changed and how it's the religions themselves have changed a bit. But like, my main point is that like, gods are flawed because they're made by humans, just like these machines. And so, and of course, again, that like, there's the very direct, like, how religion, creates, war, sort of like how that sort of blind faith towards something flawed creates, just a destruction and war. Like, of course, we haven't had Ragnarok, thankfully, but
Yeah.
they did
There's also
in the story.
there's also the fact that there's a rich guy when they're being nuked, the rich guy leaves, but he's like, no one else can leave, but I can because I'm rich. Then he
Yeah,
fucks off.
yeah,
So
he's
like,
he's
people
the
have to follow God except me. So it's kind of like, yeah, they have rules, but there are exceptions for the rules.
Yep, because rich people are exempt from all the rules because they have money. Because money is
Yeah.
power in a capitalist society. Very.
Whoa, okay, the buzzwords.
We live in a society.
what is society but a bunch of people who make rules?
Where people become tools.
But yeah, this was I did like reading through this volume for the first time because it's just wild how it just escalated. Where it's like first it's like some dude just wants to fuck his alien girlfriend, and then
It was
it's like
like
getting
very weirdly subservient because she's a weird alien person
yeah.
with those fantasies. So I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, then it
I
devolves
thought
into
he was
like
also like he has a mythology of the traditional wife, I imagine. So that's why she acts like a quote unquote traditional wife.
yeah. Do you mean he as in the
Yeah.
character or Tezuka?
The character, I
Gotcha.
think. I'm
Okay,
not
gotcha.
sure if Tezuka
Yeah,
has it.
because I know
Because
Miyazaki
yeah.
was feminist, but I don't know if Tezuka was particularly feminist or not.
Miyazaki was which one?
Miyazaki, Hayao Miyazaki, Mr. Spirited Away, and Kiki's like the fucking
Mr.
Totoro.
Ghibli.
Ah,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Good times.
right. But anyway,
I would
regarding
imagine so because I read through the magazine's Wikipedia page and there was like a feminist author as well. So I imagine he was friends with one,
okay, makes
maybe.
sense.
But what is feminism in the '60s like common values?
Yeah, like it. That's the
So
thing. So.
eh,
Yeah, I'm not sure, but anyway, but yeah, it goes from that to like there's like fucking government shit going on, and then there's like a fucking holy war that leads to absolute destruction. And then he's like he gets made immortal, and then he becomes God to slug people, and then he becomes the universe, and it's just like, what the fuck did I just read? That was all cool.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
it was interesting to see how like Tezuka, like, because that was Tezuka's sort of take on how the universe works. So it was interesting to see him go through that. It was cool.
I know this is random, but I like how Tezuka draws animals with all their big noses. It's appealing.
Was it you, Kibi, who was talking about like how cartoony characters clash with the more realistic backgrounds?
Yes. I think that sometimes the characters can clash with the backgrounds because, like, the characters are all cartoony and Disney-like, and then there's just these really realistic, good-looking backgrounds juxtaposed against these really simple-looking characters. I don't know. It just kind of clashes
I
sometimes.
could kind of understand, but at the same time, like, the character does need to stand out from the background. Like, you need to be able to tell
Yeah.
where they are. So not that you can't do that with like cartoony styles, but just something I have in mind.
I feel like it works to Phoenix's advantage because, like, it makes society seem a lot more imposing over the characters when they clash like that. Like, society looks a lot more its art style is, I would say it's a little more detailed than characters, so it just it makes it more imposing on them.
Yeah, they feel more vulnerable. Yeah.
Oh, the Hound was the Bradbury or the Radberry or whatever reference. Got
A
it.
reference because it seems like Tezuka read a lot of Western sci-fi because basically Asimov's Three Laws is referenced once, I think, in Nostalgia.
And that was probably or Nostalgia, not Resurrection.
I mean, could have been also in Resurrection. Like, a lot of the robot shit is like very Asimov. So
yeah, that I agree with, but we'll get to those stories later. SDMG, do you have literally anything to say?
One thing that I did find weird is that everyone like fell in love with the alien chick, even though knowing that she was the alien chick and barely meeting her.
Yeah, Moopies, I guess, are kind of like, because that was the race she was called, right? Like, I mean, they're highly desired in general, like in the story. Like, we see it also in Nostalgia.
Yeah.
One thing was like the Rock wasn't in love with her. He just wanted like, oh, I'm gonna be alone. I'll have someone to fuck basically. And Sarota was just a weird dude who had not seen women for a long time. So it's not
Right.
like everyone. They're not normal basically.
Well, she was also with. Go on, Nunmanji.
I feel like the robots didn't like the Moopies not because they were actually dangerous. It's just that, like, giving people true happiness was very unpredictable for them. And so, like, they feared the Moopies, but they weren't necessarily dangerous.
I mean,
because, like,
that's good. Well,
Masato
going off the go on.
Masato was able to, like, reach salvation by being in, like, having genuine love, unlike anyone in the society. I think they did have their matches picked for them. Wasn't that a thing?
I don't remember, actually, now you mention it. Maybe, like, I could see that because it is like a dystopia kind of future thing. So, and if
I don't think that was the case because
Mopies were illegal, so they wanted to kill the
he
Mopi,
broke
that's
that.
why.
That's true.
So he wasn't supposed to have her at all. But yeah,
Like,
I mean, like, he fell in love with her because she's like she's basically his fantasy. So I think
like, he was through the movie, he was able to find legitimate happiness rather than listening to the machines. So that's why he was one of the people to survive, and the other people listening to the machines, they brought an end to mankind while he survived. So
that makes sense. Though,
yeah.
I was also going to mention, because you said unpredictability, and I thought about how, like, Moopies, they represent that, well, because they're like basically the perfect life form, because they can mimic anything. They're almost unkillable, because or they can live in many environments, and so they can breed with anything too. So it's like they're more or less like infinite potential for the future of humanity. So which again is also potentially something machines would not want. So if they don't, because they all fucking kill humanity, like I don't know what the fuck they're thinking.
Or maybe they were afraid that the Moopies would replace humanity because they definitely could.
Yeah, they do in nostalgia. So or that on that humanity on that planet rather.
Yeah, like the movies never actually do anything that seems like dangerous. It just
No, they're I guess they're pure, I suppose. Like, yeah, they just like if left to their own devices, they just fuck around and be rocks pretty much. But through
Hey.
humanity, they're exploited and used more or less, and sometimes
That's
for good, sometimes I don't know. People
Maybe just a cultural fear of shapeshifters.
I think it's just because the machines were programmed to ensure the survival of humanity, and if Moopies were a thing, then eventually like the bloodline of humans would like
that
dilute.
makes sense
So
too.
that could be a thing. I don't know.
There's also a thing about if you're a movie, you won't be able to tell if someone's a movie. They can be like,
They can look like humans, yeah.
so like they can just hide in plain sight. Which is probably why the government wanted to get rid of them. It's like, oh, I can't identify you. I can't. Like, you can just disguise yourself as whoever, and I can't like keep track of you. That's what tells
I mean, I don't.
government treating movies. But yeah, like a lot of the aspects of the world building of the city is left up in the air. That doesn't really get resolved, I guess.
well, something I felt was interesting was that even like at the end of humanity, they were still using roads, even though it's like everyone normally humans think, oh, by now we'd have flying cars, but they were still using roads, even though they did have flying cars. So,
I mean, I guess they have to stay in line.
Yeah, I guess like the illusion of the freedom granted by flying cars, you have to face the reality of like it's not follow a track. It's kind of like, I guess, subverting that.
I don't know. Another thing I liked was I like the characters of Future. Rock was appealing, and so was Dr. Saruta. They're just fun characters, I think.
Rock is. I was gonna say about Rock because he recurs in Tezuka's stuff, like start with the same name and stuff, and he's always a fucking asshole. So yeah, he's great.
I remember him from Blackjack a few times.
I know he appears in Alabaster for sure. Maybe I don't remember if he appears in Adolf or not, but he definitely appears in Blackjack and Alabaster. So and of course now Phoenix. So
and of course,
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna make a joke, and
I find it funny how well, more so weird that in Future Masato forgives Saruta like way easier than any of the instances of a Saruta in other stories, because like almost instantly after the Moopy dies, he kind of just forgives him, and it seemed weird to me. Like, I don't know if that was just me.
There is a weird, like, his relationship with the women seems weird because later on when he creates like AI robots to replace like human connection, when they're not even that weird. They're like, oh, I'm not gonna love you or whatever, and he just kills them straight off. I'm like, well, okay. So like I think it's like I feel like it's implied that he doesn't value the love as much as he lets on, I think, but I'm not sure.
I mean, I think it's just the emphasis on forgiveness. Like, I just felt like that one was a little bit too quickly. I mean, I don't mind that much, but it's just that one seemed weird to me.
Yeah, a lot of this is like I'm not sure what is me projecting my values, what values because it came from the time. So yeah. About the wild shit that happens later on, like the part where he's looking for a guy who's gonna come up in 3,500 years and he doesn't. I was like, oh no.
Oh yeah, where it's like waiting by the chest and it's like, oh, there's nothing but dust. Like so much hope for, like he's kind of the same as the people at the start. He's hoping for any kind of thing resembling the past that he remembers, but nothing happens. So
yeah, there's also the Okay, go on, Kitty.
Also just the fact that he's probably really lonely and just humans go crazy without interaction.
Yeah, humans are social animals, so
Yeah, he eventually loses his body, doesn't he?
Oh, I love that part where he's like, "What the fuck?" Like he's just like, "Oh, your corporeal body is rotted away ages ago," and it's like, "Oh shit, Jesus Christ, that's cool." Just like how Tezuka sort of envisioned someone, becoming immortal, and how that like happened was neat. Like how it played out, rather.
I was also really sad when the last slug from the slug race died, because he's like, if being intelligent was gonna cause all these problems, why did it become at all? And I was like, oh no,
Very
intelligence is
sad.
bad. Shit.
But hey, at least we know Misato ages well, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, any more things to say about Future? Or shall we move on to Yamato?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I want to talk about Misato's fate a little more, because like he was alone for a very, very
Yes.
it's like basically two like life cycles of humanity, I guess, would be a good way to put it. I don't know, it just really stuck out to me as extremely tragic.
Yeah, that's a lot of loneliness. Well, I mean, I guess the bright side of looking at it is like as you get older, like so. I remember here's how I had it put it to me. If you're 7 years old, 1 year is a seventh of your lifetime. If you're 70 years old, 1 year is a 70th of your lifetime. So like as you get older, time seems to pass quicker because it's relatively speaking, it's like any period of time is less to you than it is to someone younger. So like, luckily, it felt like time would have passed and it would have felt like nothing because he's so much older. 1 year is 1 billionth of his lifetime, so
Also,
it's like
like,
nothing.
unlike normal people who eventually like, oh, this many years of my life have passed, I don't have that many years left. He doesn't have the second problem of like, there's a limit on his lifespan. He's just like,
Right.
oh yeah, this just continue forever, whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, there were periods where he was just doing nothing for fucking thousands of years. So yeah. So it's still hard to like grasp just how fucking mammoth of a like the difference between a million and a billion is massive. And humans just can't like comprehend large numbers after certain points. Like
Yeah.
it's something. So
Yeah, after I read this volume, I was taking a lot of long walks in the middle of the night. Fortunately, my neighborhood was safe, so it wasn't that big of a problem. I was like, okay.
So anyway,
Anything else?
I say we move on to Yamato, which is gonna be shorter because I have less to say about this one. Because there's like the ugly king, and he wants a legacy. He's like looking forward to his death almost, and at the end he's like, wait, what the fuck? So and then there's the son who goes off and does his own thing.
What did you guys think of the, I guess, surrealism sometimes? Like in page 2 or 3, there's like just a page of weird pictures out of nowhere.
I'm going to check.
There's a picture of Hitler, but funny looking, I guess.
Oh yeah, yeah, like at the start where he's like, there's like we see the ugly king, in like a bunch of different styles, and yeah, one of them looked like Hitler, and then there
Yeah.
was another part where he sort of did the yeah, he was giving orders. That was it. I think that's the moment you're talking about, right? Where he was
Yeah,
giving
yeah.
orders. Yes, and then yeah, Tezuka made him look like Hitler for the panel, and it's like okay.
Not just that, like I think
Oh.
page 2 or 3, there's like just a page of weird pictures for no reason.
Oh no,
He does it another time at some point where like someone is running down the mountain, and between that is a page of like the cavalry fighting the out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, okay, what?
Oh yeah, there was like a Western fucking like cowboys and Indians kind of shit going on or something, and one of character was even like, this whole page is nonsense. Like,
Yeah. Yes. Okay, he's back.
yeah, he was just
Fine.
doing his weird like it's kind of meta humor almost, where it's
What?
so out there and non sequitur. It's just like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. So what I thought of it was like surrealism. I seem to understand is like taking something real and kind of making it weird looking, like, and the weirdness juxtaposition with the reality makes it like have a very uncanny feeling. So what I saw is that Tezuka does the opposite sometimes, where he's like taking like this really old history, which like, oh fuck, feels less real.
Yeah, there's a part
Okay.
where he makes a guy
Ah.
go be a living commercial, so to get him
Yeah.
out of his hair.
Now there's also
Huh.
the fact where like in the beginning where he's building his grave, and there are a bunch of protesters, and they're shown to be like what his era protesters would look like. Also, the fact where the guards turn into like modern day policemen. So it's kind of like making something that's a very far off history that feels less real to when someone's reading it, and making it very close to real and kind of make giving you any feeling. That's what I
Okay.
thought.
Well,
Maybe.
see, like what I'm taking from what you're saying, because as I don't know, like how the rise and fall of it goes, but actually, yeah, I'd say at this point, Japan was pretty nationalistic, because in
Yeah.
1966 or 69, I watched I watched a show from that period, Ultraman, which was super nationalistic. Like probably the funniest part, I think, was like there was one episode where they were being invaded by mole people, and all the like,
Okay.
well, but they would take human disguises, and literally all of the human disguises were white guys or like Westerners,
Oh.
basically. So it's
Okay.
like there's a very like sort of like less than positive towards outsider mentality there. And then one episode, it was a Japanese guy, but he was like born and raised in like a South American country, and he was actually it turns out he'd been murdered and replaced with a plant. So it's like, so definitely like a bend against outside, like, and I would not really say like a xenophobia, but something akin to that in the nationalism vibes. And the main characters are all in the military, and so it just so I definitely feel so with Tezuka. He's being very critical of a country that at the time was likely pretty nationalistic, if it still isn't. Like apparently they don't teach they deny some of their war crimes in like World War II and stuff, and they don't teach
Yeah.
them in history. Because which is true of every country. Like I remember my history teacher in high school mentioned like our invasion of the U.S. invasion of Russia, like during, I think it was like at the tail end of World War I, or maybe it was in 1920. In the American textbook, it was like a paragraph. In a Japanese textbook, it would have been a whole chapter based, or not Japanese, Russian. Why did I say Japanese? Fuck. Um,
Yeah.
in the Russian textbook, it would have been a whole chapter, because it would have been, so like, they're in the U.S. textbook, they're undercutting a U.S. invasion of Russia, where in the Russian textbook, it's a bit more of a big deal, and there's something political there. So again, so with Tezuka, he's like, including the surrealism to sort of like maybe numb it a bit, the very harsh how he's portraying the rise of Japan, because that's what he's the history volumes are doing. They're going through the rise of Japan, and how
Mm.
brutal and uh, wrong it was during, so yeah, so I could see that the surrealism being a sort of like to make it seem both more and less real, like, to in a sense,
Yeah.
because
Because like you hear some horrific shit that happened thousands of years ago, but you hear about a murder that happened yesterday and it feels like you value them differently because that's what people do.
yeah, like, yeah, I get what you mean. And then at the same time, repetition numbs. Like, I'm gonna be completely honest. When I hear about a school shooting, I just don't in America. I just don't care anymore. Like, whatever. Like, it just happens too often. Like, I don't even remember the last time I heard about one. I'm sure some have happened, but yeah. So that's kind of off topic though. But yeah, this volume does
All
end.
the buzzwords scratched one.
I'm
Jesus.
sorry. I just think
School shootings have been casualized. That is the issue.
yeah, that's a big problem. But I don't know. I can't do anything about it. So Very
Yeah.
sad.
There's also a joke where he talks like when the king is gonna die, he says that, "Oh, I'm gonna build a university," and his ministers are like, "Are you deranged?" And they're not calling him deranged, totally on board with him building a grave where he's gonna kill 80 people, which is fine. I was like, okay,
Mm.
yeah.
So going back to the background thing, something I noticed here and both here and then future while I was looking over it, the backgrounds of the past are actually look more hyper realistic, or I don't know if hyper more realistic, but they're more realistic, while the future ones are in the same cartoony style as the characters are drawn in. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Though I wonder if part of that is because like with the past, we have like images of, I mean, because that in my memory you're correct, like especially thinking forward to Karma, there's like all the Buddhist statues are drawn with lots of detail, but in the future it's like we don't know what it actually is going to look like, so he has to do some sort of stylization to make it
I guess
look
it's also the
like
fact that, like, if you look at old sci-fi movies, they all kind of seem goofy to you, which would not have been the case for people.
yeah,
at
like
the time.
well, I like that's the fun thing about watching older sci-fi stuff. Like Akira takes place in 2019, and but they have like 80s fashion, and they don't have cell phones, and like it's just funny because it's wrong and it's great. Because that's that's just what they imagined 2019 to be like. So
one
Tezuka
side note
predicted
about future, I
FaceTime.
know it's a bit late, but I'm just gonna bring it up. Was I think I was talking to my friend about the buildings introduced at the beginning of future, about how they kind of look weird, and he was talking about that they're way too regular and doesn't look like it's made by an architect. And I thought maybe it's because it's designed by computers, but the computers are also flawed, so I'm not sure if it's consistent. But
I mean,
just a side note.
they're seen as perfect, so like, well, because like I don't know, my personal stance on perfection is perfection does not exist like in nature, so to accept something as perfect is like you no longer accept its flaws, so if like, or you don't care to recognize its flaws, so like with a building that's made by a robot, like I mean, well, especially in regards to Buddhism believes like imperfect is good, or or perfection, like because if like, especially Bleach does this a lot, but where it's like because if you again, if you recognize something as perfect and don't recognize the flaws, then the flaws can't be improved upon because it's already perfect, so
And isn't Buddhism, like, I imagine the rebirth cycle ends for a person when they have, quote unquote, reached perfection of some sort, I guess?
yeah, like that's the thing, it's all about personal improvement. So if you recognize yourself as perfect, then you'll never you'll stagnate. You won't recognize your flaws. So maybe the buildings looking regular is because they were accepted as perfect. I don't know.
I didn't say they were regular. They were like way too uniform and way too samey looking, and feels like.
Oh yeah, see that's
like when something looks way too perfect, it gives you like a weird reaction.
Yes, symmetry. People don't a symmetrical human face is off-putting. Like the human mind is used to imperfection and asymmetry. So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so cool. Yeah, that works. So does anyone else have anything to say about Yamamoto?
I do. Actually, maybe I'm just a sucker for romance. That's probably the case, but I did enjoy this romance and this one for the most part. It just, I don't know, I liked it.
There was also the fab part about how it kind of reminded me of Doflamingo in, I think at the end of Summit War, where he said, the ones who win write what justice even is. So
yes, whoever wins becomes justice. Right.
So
yes.
in here, replace justice with history, which is kind of the basis of justice.
Yeah. Well, it's like power in general is like kind of everything. If you have power, then you can do can do whatever you want. So you can write history. You can write what justice is. So yeah.
I wasn't sure. It reminded me of this idea I heard recently, but I'm not sure if Tezuka endorses this completely, which was like how the history is not the same thing as the past, because the history is written by a person interpreting the past. So he would include his biases, and he would
Yes.
prioritize different information. And you can't include every conceivable detail about the past to form a
basically,
narrative.
okay, and the past is like how it actually was, whereas history isn't the interpretation of that past. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like we have to use history to make sense of the past because like life has no narrative, but we have to add narrative to learn from it.
Which is inevitable when someone documents it because they're going to inevitably focus on some things over others. Like again, like I was talking about with the difference between Russian and U.S. textbooks regarding certain Russian versus U.S. war. So whereas like they have different takes on the history because of the agenda they have to push. So yeah, that makes sense.
There's also the agenda, and this, even if you exclude the agenda, it's just like that will happen for literally everyone, even if you're trying to be accurate. For example, like if you're writing about the civil rights movement in America, you're not gonna write what happened in Sweden because it might quote unquote tangentially relate to it because it's just too far off and it's not relevant to the story you're trying to tell.
Right, you still have to make you can't include everything, but you have to include like in order to be more or less fair or unbiased as possible. You have to include as much relevant information as possible. So which requires lots of study and reading and learning perspectives. So
and Tezuka is kind of like we have to learn histories from different people because he also says that the king in Yamato was also pushing some propaganda, but maybe not as much.
He's like. Yeah, well, he's making this big glorious grave when, like, what the fuck did he like? That's like his greatest achievement. Not that
king in the other land.
Oh no, he was making. Yeah. Oh no, you're right. They were both. Yeah.
The like where the main guy went and he found the phoenix there, that place.
Yes.
So he was kind of like, I think there's a point where he's like, he told that one of his ministers to be like, chill out and go spread this propaganda near the lands for me. So I think he's also implying that he's also biased. And there was also a point where Tezuka, basic narrator, is like, we have to look at different people's histories to get the more accurate version of it. So I guess, yeah,
taking all the evidence at once.
Right, don't just get caught up by one perspective. Yeah, makes sense.
Be like a bird or a phoenix, if you would, and soar above all the perspectives.
Yeah.
Deep.
Indubitably.
There's actually something interesting about the past that like kings used to make up times when they became king. So like our years now could be off because like it sounds a lot cooler if you become king in like the year 500 or something. Like they used to make up different dates, and so like even now.
Also the fact that like something in Kingdom that reminded me was Shin met this general but face to face, but he didn't know who he was because like you won't know what a big higher up person would look like. So in the past, what could have happened was like, oh, my brother. It was the king, but I took over his position. I'm going to say it was just me all along, and all the good things he did were mine because it sounds more impressive that way, and my rule is more quote unquote concrete. But that's just me. So,
maybe. I mean, there's a lot of potential for misinformation, but that's for in some cases, like Kingdom itself is written based on like one account for the formation of so.
Yeah, I think in the last podcast you said one of the people said that it was just a few paragraphs and he just made this like a 100 chapter story of some sort.
Or no, it was what was the siege during the coalition arc? What was the siege of the one? What was the one city called?
Way.
I think yeah, I think so.
In the not Way is the state.
Way is the state. It was the city that Ace came personally to defend from.
We get what you're talking about.
Yeah, that was one line that it was just to mention that the invaders were repelled at that city, and from that one line, he expended this fucking incredible like story of like these peasants being trained to fight against soldiers and defend, and it was fucking awesome. And they just took that from literally one line. of
Peasants
history.
rise up. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, so that kind of shit's cool. SDMG, do you have anything to say about Yamato?
Not really. For me personally, it was probably one of the most boring ones.
Wow, people died.
But
So rude.
they died in all of them.
Well, that's just the theme of rebirth, Crestors. You gotta be more sensitive.
The world died in future, so relatively speaking, like, go ahead.
Oh yeah, but like
everyone died in future, so like relatively speaking, that's good.
But yeah, now that you bring that up,
only like 40 guys died. Yeah, it's not even a lot. We need more.
Not even a lot. Wow.
Because as we know, a story is only as good as the amount of characters who die in it.
So is this better than Berserk, Crabstore?
Obviously, like, look, everyone died in future. Like,
hey,
how do you top that?
That's a 25 million person death count by itself, man.
Exactly.
And that's just one volume.
But speaking of death, I find it interesting how Tezuka always makes sure to kill off one character at least every volume, and I believe there may actually be a reason for this. That maybe he just likes to kill people, but I believe this may be like in line with the theme of rebirth. Like people have to die to end their story, and other people have to start anew. So
that might also be like because he's like, I guess, quote unquote, debunking the mythology of the. He's also like heroes didn't always win. So I guess this was a more positive one because like the character takes action and the action leads to something, even though he didn't live long enough to see it. Like they eventually like stopped like mass murdering people for the graves, presumably.
Right, they start using the clay dolls instead. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was nice. It was like, hey, he got what he wanted. Nice.
All right.
And it's also like great change requires great sacrifice, I guess, because you have to also kill the king of Yamato. That was kind of uncalled for, I would say.
I think it's neat how both Kajika and Oguna define their places in their society, like how she was destined to be married off, and instead of acting like how she was supposed to, she went off. And with Oguna, he defied what his father wanted to build the park for everyone.
The park was yeah.
And then through both of them defying what they're supposed to do, they eventually changed their society by making them use the clay dolls.
Yeah. Even though they didn't live long enough to see it. Sad.
All right.
I have to say.
Ready to move on to space? This one's pretty interesting.
Unless SDMG has something to say about.
I have nothing to say. Go ahead.
Oh, that's right. You said it was boring. We already went over this. Okay. Yeah. Space. I want to, like, we kind of talked about already, but like the paneling is some of the most interesting I've seen. Like I really like how he like it's he has all the characters like have their own like line of panels, and then they'll like there was one page that was posted where it's like the four characters were in different places, and then as they like bumped into each other as they were escaping the ship, like the panels merged from like one panel size to two panel sizes, but and then they all to the end, and they were all four together, and it was just really really neat. And just
I guess the idea was that because you'll have to be in different space capsules, he has to make sure that you're not confused about who's talking where, like that they're not physically together, and there's like a holding panel to connect the continuing event. Plus, there's also the fact that there's like, I guess I'm pretty sure there's time delay implied between the communications. There's not instantaneous. I'm not sure.
Well, because like kind of how it's supposed to be read is like you read the first panel of each like row or each like line, and then you read the second panel, because it's like especially in the conversations, you'll like one character will be talking and the other panel will be the other character, like they'll have an expression on their faces or just reacting to what's being said, and then like and then the lines will go all around the page, and it's just really neat.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
Tezuka in general, like he does so much cool stuff with his
Yeah.
visuals.
Yeah.
Like, um,
like I was wondering, is it just like because it was in a more experimental stage, you can notice a lot of this, whereas in modern ones, it'll be so subtle that you don't pick it up consciously, or maybe they just don't experiment as much. Or,
yeah, they definitely don't experiment as much. And like honestly, like as far as modern manga go, like the one that has like the most like unique panel stuff going on is probably Made in Abyss from what I've seen. But even then,
yeah.
like compared to Tezuka's stuff, it's like not like it's just every so often it kind of does something.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to think about how even though it is more interesting, it's still harder to read. So
True, because
I
like
think I
the
got
standardized makes it
the-
familiar, the standardization, so it's easier to just jump in. Yeah.
I don't know. It's also hard to think, or it's also hard to see the multiple things happen at once in like the manga form. It's just too much to look
I
at.
think I think
Can't
that's
concentrate.
why he put the holes in the panels to make it easier if they're confused. But okay, that's a one continuous action that's been continuing from the previous row of panels. So that's like I do agree that it makes it harder, but it makes it memorable as well. It's like, oh yeah, that's a cool thing he did.
And even
I
if it is
guess.
harder, like it is a manga, like we're reading it, you can just go back and like you can
Yeah,
take your time on a page and just really glean as much as you want or as little as you want from it, you know? So like yeah, sometimes you need a bit longer to read a page because it's different and unique, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Um as long as you're willing to put in that time to engage. Like if it turns you off of the work, that's fine. I understand it, but for me, it was neat. It was neat. Okay.
another interesting panels were like when they were telling each other their version where they got from Makimura. They got it was like clouds, and sometimes they were like circular, read them circularly. That was kind of interesting. Like he has done panels like this before, but I also got confused. Like what? It's like you read circularly, but it's like panels placed conventionally. But this made it much easier to read in a circular fashion because it's clouds.
Yeah,
That was
and like they were told in different styles based on who was telling the story. Like there was the one that was clouds, and one had a black One Piece flashback thing going on.
yeah. There's also the part where I guess the host. I think Annie had a lot to say about this story, and we were talking about how I saw it as like kind of a criticism of blind love, I guess, where like especially the guy who was in love with the girl at the beginning, where it was like constantly like, oh, we're in love, and she's like, no, and he's like, oh no, we're gonna be in love, and like he's always like talking, he's gonna quote unquote defending her in the party, and she's like, so yeah. Also the sci-fi partying was cool. I was like, whoa, shit, zero gravity dancing is cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the thing. It was another sort of like everyone loves this one. Like if there's one girl in the story, everyone fucking loves her. Every single fucking character. Like this, it was like this
Yeah.
with here and back in Future too.
Yeah.
Like that's just how Tezuka rolls, I guess.
There has to be a love triangle.
Or love dodecahedron.
Some kind of polygon with love.
Yeah.
Just
some
know,
geometric shape.
the bigger the shape, the bigger the revenue.
Oh.
Better romance.
Okay.
He ate
Yeah.
that chicken like chicken wings.
Okay.
I apologize.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Because the girl also has like a blind love for Makimura, and she turns herself into a plant and quote unquote pays for his sins, even though she didn't deserve it. So it's kind of does the whole thing. I think, yeah, the whole people being plant was weird. The bleeding plants, like what the fuck is
well,
this?
it's like yeah, they're plants or animals that looked like plants and acted like plants, and then like or plants that acted like animals. It's like okay, I don't have as much to say about this one. I'd say Volume 3 is probably one of the weaker ones for me.
Yeah.
Not
It
that
was
bad.
definitely really. I personally thought it was boring.
I can definitely say I hate Makimura though.
Oh yeah.
He's annoying and made
He tried to
nostalgia
eat
longer
his
than it had to
wife.
be. Yeah.
So that's pretty, bad thing to do, I guess. There's also the fact that he mythologized the woman in his mind, and again the blind love thing comes up again, and yeah. So Sarah was okay. Is this Sarah? I got confused about which Sarata is what. So is this Sarata the same as the Sarata in future,
No,
or
this is his
no?
ancestor.
Okay, so
Yeah.
he's the reason everyone got like shitty noses.
This is why we needed code names.
Okay.
Hashtag Kibi was
Oh
right.
yeah, because I'm pretty sure. I think the past volumes are linear, but I think the future ones are a little bit because this isn't the because or maybe oh no, that's what's confusing me because Resurrection took place over a pretty long period of time because it ends with the robot getting picked up by the Sartan from future, so it's like it technically starts before this volume, but it ends before after this volume, it's like
Wait,
volume
wait,
5 kind of like
wait,
Resurrection
wait.
kind of that's what I
Wait,
took
was
from.
his Sarata the Sarata in Resurrection? I thought that Sarata was Sarata in Future.
Was
He
there
Because,
is.
at the end, but he only shows up at the
yeah,
end.
yeah,
That's the
yeah.
thing. He's not there. I don't think he's there. There's one at the beginning of Resurrection.
I
I
should
think
pay
it'll.
attention to these
The
years.
whole
Fuck.
Sarata thing is pretty interesting to me. Because when I first read JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I thought it was generational hero thing. I thought that was the first time to do that, but no. Apparently, Sarata's Bizarre Adventure happened way long ago.
That's good. But yeah, so I'm pretty because I should have paid attention to the years in Volume 5 too because I kind of I liked how Volume 5 was told because of the way it jumped around and you learned more pieces of information after and
Yeah.
learned more context of things you already knew, and then but yeah, it was neat.
Wait, just to clarify, Volume 5 is Resurrection.
Yes, Volume 5 is Resurrection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Oh
made
yeah.
me less robo-racist.
Yes, the one
So,
that made you less of a robo racist.
yeah. That was interesting. I was like, huh.
Now you're just a
Robocop sort
political
of thing.
racist.
Oh shit.
Oopsie.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was happening, so I started paying attention to the numbers on the years because I don't know. I have an issue with skimming a little bit, so don't pick up on everything.
I was kind of doing the same. But anyway,
I didn't even know it was about the history of Japan until the third one. So whoops.
oops. So does anyone or SDMG Nunmanji, do you have anything to say about space or?
Nothing at all.
Not much. No.
Yeah, I didn't either. I mean, it does come back up in nostalgia, but we'll get to that. For now, I think Karma was my favorite. I think Volume 4 was my personal favorite.
Yeah.
Future was trippy, but 4 had the best characters and conflict, I think, and I like that
Yeah.
shit. So
I think when I read it, I appreciated Future more, but I thought about Karma more. So I'd probably put Karma slightly above Future.
it's
Yeah,
close, yeah. But Karma's great. So because we have
Sounds pretty good.
well, I like the sort of it was like a reveal because he's Gao, and then he turns into Sarita. We
He's
smart.
part 8. Karma's part 8. If we want to keep the JoJo joke going.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
He's Joseph Fumi.
Yes.
I
Oh
have
my
no
God.
idea what you're talking about, though. I'll roll with it.
But anyway, but yeah, I like the two the arcs between the two main characters where how they're kind of inverse of each other. You have the artist who's he's fine at first, and then something bad happens to him and he goes worse, and then Gao he's
sorry.
Gao, he's lives in he's just shit. Honestly, his life was just shit.
Born into a shit life because of he got thrown from a cliff, fell from a cliff.
No, yeah, his dad died, and he got hit on the head and got scarred and lost his arm, and it's just
There's also the fact that his house was away from the rest of the village, and they have this panning shot from the top to the bottom. I was like, okay, this is he's reason to kill everyone. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so he's just a sad boy who's like doing awful things, but you know, you understand why he's doing bad things. But then he sort of gets his redemption. He's able to focus that hatred on his art, and you know, he finally has an outlet that doesn't involve like murdering so casually. Like holy shit, he's just
Like in the beginning, he was like had a kid hostage,
or-
and he was like
or-
the kid was feeding him rice. It's like, oh, I guess it's not a kid because that's the trope. But he kills it. I was like, whoa, shit, okay.
right. It's just
Okay.
super brutal.
Yeah.
But Craftsworth, about the thing you said with the monk guy, how you said he went from good to bad. I feel like he was good for most of the story, like
Well,
a good
it's
guy.
like he was interested in, you know, he wanted to do the Phoenix, but like when he was later on, he was you know, he was like when he was actually competing with Gao over the gargoyles, like, and then
Yeah.
like Gao fucking wrecked him, and he was like, no, fuck you, and
Yeah.
like he turned into kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah, I feel like it was kind of abrupt though. Maybe it was just that his pride got the best of him in that moment, and it just screwed him
I
up
saw it
forever.
more as like him being corrupted by the system,
Well,
where he
it's
wasn't
also-
inherently wrong, but he fell into the system where he didn't care about the people that his art influenced, more about the fact that he could create this
He
big
wanted
art.
the pride and prestige from being, you know, the
Yeah.
best, and also
Yeah.
like it was also, you know, a way for him to get vengeance over Gao, who kind of, you know, who fucked him over, who like, you know, he got his arm taken, so he took Gao's last arm, so to speak.
Yeah, but the weird thing is he thanked him the first time. Maybe he just forgot due to his corruption.
maybe I'm misremembering. So
No, you might be right. He probably just like his
Yeah,
pride
he
got the better
did.
of him.
I remember
forgot.
him meeting Gao right after Gao like started Buddhism.
did he
was
recognize him? Did he
Yeah,
recognize
he
did
did.
recognize
recognized
him.
him,
Did,
and
okay.
the Gao told him like cut off my arm because justice or whatever, and he's like no, and he fucks off, and Gao is just like heartbroken because like at least if he lost another arm he would have felt better because like he felt like he was being redeemed in some way. I guess that's what he was going through, but he didn't get that. He had to suffer in prison for years building fucking Buddhist statues and
In the
like,
wall,
okay,
yeah.
why?
Gao's life was suffer. Okay, you don't even know.
Yeah.
I think it's
I
really.
really like. Yeah.
I
really
think
like
it's
the
neat
part
how.
when he.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Nunmanji. Go ahead.
I
Nunmanji
was
first,
just-
because George has been talking. So
I was just gonna say it's neat how who's the cruel one switches between Gao and the artist. I don't remember his name.
I don't remember the other guy's name either. Gao is so easy to remember.
Yeah,
Um,
you know what? Let's just call him.
Akane Maru. Akane Maru is the other guy's name.
Yeah.
Well, I think my name was better, but we'll go with that. We'll go with that. It's okay.
I guess I saw it as like hardship made them stronger in both of their cases, but
Yeah.
like the Akanemaru got corrupted by complacency in the system because the system is based on corruption, on like exploitation. Sorry.
Yeah.
Also,
I
I
still
feel like the
feel-
difference with. Go ahead.
Go on. Okay, fine. Well, because like I guess like one way, because early on in the series, Gao, he has strength and, you know, power just from being physically strong, and yet but then later on he's in when Akanemaru has like political power and Gao has nothing, like you know, it's you know, that's what their roles inverse because their levels of their power inversed, so to speak. So
Yeah.
that's another
The
way.
difference
How
between
makes
them
you
is also
mad?
that like one uses art as an outlet and he not being selfish by wanting recognition, and one eventually ends up wanting recognition for his art and to be the best and becomes greedy. So that's why he.
Yeah, well, he also wanted to, like, he did want to, you know, just make, like, he wanted to do the Phoenix, but the Phoenix is something impossible to reach. So he, you know, and so he sort of abandoned that until, like, because at the end he sees the Phoenix and he's like, oh, I can't wait to be reborn as a human, and the Phoenix is like, haha, no, bitch.
Yeah, one
there's
little
also the
act.
fact where there's also might be an idea where like the stat to give someone worship, to give them power on how his girlfriend basically survived Like he made a statue of her, and that's how she survived getting stabbed in the gut, basically. So that's
Pretty.
how I interpreted it. It's not, yeah.
One thing that I also have to say about him with his girlfriend is that he definitely lost touch with her. He definitely started being more obsessed with his work, and that he eventually started losing love for his girlfriend.
She is
I'm
his
pretty
sister.
sure he thought he died. She died. Like, she got stabbed, so like you think, oh, she's dead. But like then you see the cracks on the statue. So I'm pretty sure he thought of it as she died, because when she comes back, she's like, "Oh, you're alive. Good to know." So I'm
Then
not
she
sure.
takes a jump on a statue.
Oh yeah, that was
Shot
fucking
on the
awesome.
Buddha.
Brilliant moment.
I was reading a book recently where I was pissed on a monastery, and that was also cool. It's a fun fact.
Nice.
Yeah, two problems I have with karma. I don't see how karma factors too much into it. I mean, as I think about it more, it does factor into it like a moderate amount, but I don't know. I don't feel like it was worth naming the thing after. And I think that the Akamaru whatever's fall was pretty abrupt and came out of kind of nowhere. So
I guess it's just like Buddhist karma, because
Yeah, but like the
Sarata is
Western.
rewarded by being human in other lives, but Akemaru becomes an animal and can never, basically. I personally don't see it as karma, because fuck whatever next life
Well,
is.
karma
Like,
in
that's
general, like I've heard several, like 2 or 3 different interpretations of it, so I don't know which is like correct because, like, yeah, it like as I understand it, it's more like. But then again, Tezuka would I think he knew more about Buddhism and his is different than what I've heard. So I don't know. I just don't. Yeah, I don't know exactly what karma is supposed to be like in actuality, and maybe there are different interpretations of it. So like, yeah, at the very least, like at the end, you do have the how they acted in their lives and how they changed did affect how they got their cycle of reincarnation, which I don't. It's the how whatever it's treated in the story as a thing. Like Akane can't, and Sarut. Oh, speaking of reincarnation, I did like how he saw other versions of Saruta, and
yes,
one of them was one that we have not seen yet, and might not if it was the rebel one who was like tied to the pole and executed by guns. Like I'm wondering if that story was even drawn.
yeah,
So
I was wondering if like is that like is it like Jewish or something? Like I don't know,
because like
because I read a story of where they would get tied up and they would get shot in like rows of people.
no,
Like,
I've
one
seen
of those.
that imagery before of the executions like that. Though I
whoa,
guess mostly what I'm thinking of is like because Tezuka definitely has like a lot of the connections planned out, or at least some of them.
Yeah.
Like because like in volume 3 or with in space, the one dude gets like his ship drifts off, and he's like, oh, they're like, oh no, he's gone, and never shows up again. Except he does show up again in Nostalgia, and there he is. He's just like, I lost my ship when we saw the ship again. I'm like, oh my fuck, that's the ship from the. It was neat. It was one of those just moments where it's like the connection is made. So here he is
yeah.
making a connection to a future story that he hasn't written yet, or we haven't not read yet, or he never got the chance to write. So
Well, I'm looking at that, and he looks like he's wearing modern clothes, and I don't know if they've hit the modern time yet. So
I would assume it would probably be. I mean, because it also could be like in like the 1900s. So
yeah,
it could have been like his second to last past story right
yeah,
before like the war, the last one right before we hit the actual like contemporary 60s, 70s, 80s, whenever he would have probably 90s if he actually got the chance to write it.
yeah. My first thought when I saw it was like, ooh, cool, mob boss story. So maybe that was that.
Yeah.
But
For me, it had the strongest art this volume. Like just art wise, all the Buddha
oh
statues.
yeah, like all the
whoa.
statues and buildings and lots of super
Yeah.
detail. Like I mentioned it, like it's like just wrapping my head around the whole like he drew 10 pages a day. Or like he would have had to. Like it's more likely that for like these detailed ones he would have like spent the whole day on like the 2, and then for like some other manga he drew like 20 pages a day or something like that.
See, that's the thing, Craft Store. That's like, first of all, apparently some of his manga is lost. so we don't actually know how much he drew.
He
Second
might
of
have
all,
done more, yeah. Or what?
He isn't just a manga author. He went like abroad, did a bunch of. He
Yeah,
wrote
like
essays. He made
yeah, there was
animation
one.
studios.
Yes, there was one interview with two of the people who translated Phoenix way back before manga translation was as big of a thing, and they talked about how like he'd like he'd always go to he'd come in to see the latest animated movie, and then like they needed two of them there to like interpret for him because he was such a workaholic that like one person wouldn't be able to keep up with him.
Yeah, I
So
was
like,
what is he? He can't be real. Like he's yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, like well,
I don't know.
yeah. Or what's
My take. I don't know. I just think Tezuka was a really cool guy with all these innovative ideas, and just he was outside the box. That's for sure.
Yeah, insane work ethic, lots of like weird shit, but like it's creative, and so in that it's definitely like interesting. And though I do think like I probably like because again
Whoa.
he's been super influential because he also had like Astro Boy was the first TV anime, so like
Yeah.
it was an adaptation of his work. And as I understand it, like part of the reason that manga and anime have to this day have like really brutal like production like cycles is because like it was based off like the model was based off of Tezuka, and Tezuka was he was a workaholic. So like
Yeah.
you have to be a workaholic to exist in these industries because it's Tezuka's fault.
Tezuka killed Hunter x Hunter.
He also
He killed
started
Togashi.
He
No.
also started this thing about how to make TV anime, you cut corners in every conceivable aspect.
Right.
So he started that as well.
Yeah, so because
Before that, it
again,
was just like this mammoth, big budget productions that take forever and took 100 people. But he's like, nah, you just cut corners, man.
which like in one way I don't mind that as much because like the whole thing like because Disney kind of like ruined animated films in a way because like no one else could match that level of like production and detail and animation quality. So like if you don't have Disney level quality, you aren't shit. So like and that's why animated movies to this day are still like derivative like they're still they're aimed at kids and stuff, because
Yeah.
like
Yeah, also the fact
They're
that
too afraid.
Disney had to recoup their budgets, they have to make the safest possible movie ever.
yeah,
So it's also
so
like how anime was able to take more risks because it was relatively way cheaper to make, so it can
yeah,
not
and like
require. Yeah.
right. And nowadays it's like there's so much of it because and like the unique style anime like is because of the creative ways they found to cut corners. Like legitimately my favorite anime, like the first season is like very very noticeably like low budget, but it allowed for some really creative like visual and so it's like a fucking mundane slice of life shit, but I find it visually interesting. And even when in later seasons when they do have more budget to throw around, they still keep a lot of the like imagine it like the style, I guess. So it's just neat. But yeah, so anime it's like on one hand it's good that it was made, Tezuka had his influence on it because like that's the reason it is in the state today. But good and bad. So
He also spared his degeneracy in the anime industry, as you can see in Nostalgia. So there you go.
almost there.
So yeah. Do you have
Okay,
anything
guys.
else to say about karma? Oh yeah, another thing that when the whole art quote unquote duel they had, so it reminded me of the one chapter in Blackjack where this artist who was like hit by radiation, and Blackjack changed his brain, but he couldn't make the art he wanted to depict the radiation because of pain anymore. So he had to wait until the radiation came back to his brain to the rest of his body to make that art, and he's kind of saying that suffering creates art. So
I'm sure
seems like something
Tezuka.
physical to believe in.
Yeah, see that I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel about that message. But like
Yeah.
personally, like but well, because like what I took more from karma was less that like suffering creates art, but like it's more like you do need like some kind of passion. Like the other artist was able to create just through passion. Like he made the Buddha statue based off the girl through love. And so but with Gao, he was again he channeled his hatred into his art. So you do need something to make art. not
Like
necessarily
what I took it
suffering.
as, like, because Gao didn't have any training, whatever, he was just natural. I saw it as like art that exists for the artist is less valuable than the art that exists to say something, I guess, quote unquote say something, because all art
Hmm,
kind of says something. That's how I saw it.
perhaps.
I don't personally don't have these values, but it seems like what the author is going for.
Yeah.
So
Like, I don't know,
yeah,
I was just glad for the character to have finally found an outlet for that anger that didn't involve murder. So I'm like, yeah, you go, dude. Make the fuck out of those statues. They look cool. Like, I love seeing the comparison of like the shitty gargoyles and the cool gargoyles, because
yeah. The
everyone was.
whole Sarata's rage is depicted in
Doom,
really
Doom.
interesting ways.
We
Yeah.
need a Doom for that panel, like in One Piece. I'm sorry, I just had to add something.
Oh
So,
yeah, I was watching. I think like a video essay about one of the Ghibli movies, and they were showing Shinto temples, and I immediately was like, "Fuck this place" because of karma. I was like, "Oh, it's probably built on exploitation." Like, shit. And
That's
I
good.
stopped watching it. I was like, "Damn it, Tezuka." It was a really well produced video too. Damn it.
It
So,
ruined you on
yeah.
the Buddhism thing. That's funny.
Wait, it wasn't. It was a Shinto temple, but I'm same business.
Oh, gotcha. It made you think.
Yeah.
hmm, well, all the Buddhist things flew over my head personally because I'm not a Buddhist and I have I haven't done any research, so I
Yeah.
haven't understood
My
very much of
research
it.
is that I read Bleach and read a lot of Bleach analysis, because Bleach is also
Whoa.
very Buddhist influenced. So,
So what you're saying is, if I read Bleach, it's like the
well,
Bible.
You can read
Yes.
a Buddhist Wikipedia page. That's it. That's all.
Bleach
well,
is the Buddhist equivalent of the Bible, is what
I
you're saying.
mean, the way to learn the most about Buddhism the quickest is by drinking bleach, because then you'll find out if you'll reincarnate.
Oh shit!
No, I don't know. That was stupid.
Life hacks.
Life hack: just drink bleach. It's good for you. Anyway, please do not drink bleach. I don't want to be a responsible. SDFG, don't do it. You're a
Wow.
child. I know you're a child. You're
No
easily
promises.
impressionable, but don't do
Someone.
it.
Fun fact: Bleach is
I think
cherry
he's
flavored if you get it just
impressionable.
right.
He read nostalgia, so there you go. Like, you know.
Eat your veggies, kiddos. Let's
All
move
right.
on to the next one. Woohoo!
As if you guys are ready, Nunmanji
Yeah,
or
sorry about
SDFG.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything to say.
Okay. So yeah, next up, Resurrection, the story that made the famous robo-racist George less robo-racist.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah,
won't vote for robot rights, but I won't vote against them either. Like,
it's okay. It's okay. Rights for robots will never happen.
Whoa.
Sure.
Whoa.
Hey, what? What? What?
I mean, maybe robot rights will happen. You don't know. The future will be advanced.
Okay. Now I'm gonna explain my joke because I feel really offended. The joke is that people thought that black rights and women rights would never happen, but they did. So get on my level.
Sort of.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my knees would hurt.
Hmm?
Yeah, my
I got
knees
her.
would hurt
I got
too.
her joke, but you
I
didn't.
didn't.
So
I
okay, you
didn't.
did. Gotcha. Okay,
I
sure,
didn't.
sure,
I
sure.
didn't.
Okay.
I did. All right. The guy's bald. He gets bald after dying and getting better.
And because
And
he's bald, he sees horrific abominations where he once saw people.
he
Right.
throws a dog into a wall.
Look, it's your precious dog killer. Get the fuck out of here. Boom. It's fucking wrecked.
Yeah, I think this volume at the most, like, what the fuck does this thing look like? There's one scene of them fucking, and that's the most avant-garde fucking I've ever seen. I was like, what the hell? I was like thinking, I was like, was that? Were they like what?
It was also really
Yeah.
interesting seeing how he visualized like the character being dead, like in the purgatory where it's just like trippy shit happening like constantly. Like that was that was interesting to see. Like, oh, that's I guess how else do you fucking portray it? I have no fucking clue.
Well,
Yeah.
it says he was vague consciousness, so I guess he was all right.
Yeah,
But then there was death. I don't know.
but it was
STMG, you read a Asimov book or something, right? Did you see any influences from that on this story?
Not really.
Okay. I guess you read a lot of shit, so
but yeah, what I also liked about this one was like sort of how like the story was structured, where it sort of jumped around the time
Yeah.
shit, and then we find like again we find out we find out stuff, and then like we see the massacre of all the Robitas
Yeah.
killing themselves, and later we find out why they killed themselves, because it keeps going back and forth in time, like
Yeah. Those stories are always fun. It probably would have been more fun if I realized it immediately, but it was still fun.
well, the table of contents says like what period is what like year, and there were the title cards and stuff. But,
Yeah, I skimmed that.
Yeah.
So
Sad.
do you think
Too many words. I'm here to read a comic book.
Yeah.
Or so what are you saying, George?
Do you think the main character saw humans as less quote unquote human because he became more robot? So like he saw robots as more like people because of that? Or
Yeah.
I was thinking because he was kind of half robot sort of because he has made a lot of art.
Yeah.
Well,
In the end,
he was talking about how he wanted to be one or the other. So
yeah. In the end, he chose to be a robot, so he probably valued them more. So.
Yeah. Yeah. There's also.
Wait. Why didn't he get reincarnated immediately? I don't understand why his soul stayed with him.
Because robots are people too, man.
I mean, the thing with Phoenix is like it values life no matter who you are, and it says like how all life is precious. So like, yeah.
Depends on your values, I guess.
Yeah.
There's also the fact that the thing about how he said that the people didn't need Phoenix anymore because they could just be immortal now, sort of. And I think it kind of says that the more we have technology, less we believe in religion because we need it less. So maybe that's what he was going for. But that is also the fact that there's less, I guess, value on family values over time. Like the family just tries to kill each other, but I don't know. Maybe that's like maybe I don't know what he's going with that. What do you guys think? Okay, QB left. Oh, he came back.
QB came back.
Sorry, I cut off there for a minute. Apologies. Yes, I was using the fabled AirPods, and I think they died on me.
Okay, very sad.
What do you guys think of the main
technology
family trying to kill him for the Phoenix, and what he said to the main family is?
Or which one? Or I didn't hear you.
Like when like he realizes that before he lost his memory, he was going for the Phoenix, right? And his family almost kills him to get the Phoenix, right? So what do you guys think of that?
I think they were a bunch of rock people.
Okay.
Yeah, his family was kind of shit. Like, well, because he was even like the whole thing where he might have been assassinated for his, the whole shit because he was gonna get an inheritance or something. So his family was shit. That's what I gotta say.
I mean, they weren't even really related to him because like his mom cared about him, but the rest of his family, he didn't even know who they were, like second cousins and such.
Yeah.
This is like they clearly just wanted for his Phoenix blood.
Which, well, sadly, that kind of shit happens. Like I remember hearing, the guy who made Minecraft would have like relatives he'd never even like met or even heard of in like years would be visiting him because he was the maker of Minecraft. He was suddenly a fucking bit ridiculously rich. So like,
it's like, oh boy, I got an in.
Yeah, people are shit is what it's basically.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if the author is going for like this happened this is a thing that happens towards the future or the course of the time, or is it just like always was a thing. I don't know if there was any significance to that.
Yeah, I'm not sure myself.
See. Why is the Phoenix in Colorado? Like, okay.
Why not? The phoenix can go where it pleases.
Phoenix is a bird for a reason, Georgie. Okay?
Oh yeah. I guess they met her in space. So.
Yeah. So wait, you said she was in Colorado?
Yeah.
I think it's because it definitely has something to do with like being an Indian ground sort of thing, because like that was part of Indian culture somewhere, I believe. So maybe she was just there as a response to that. Plus, it was like less modernized than Japan, clearly. So maybe she jives with it.
Yeah, she's like, city is not my thing. I remember was hearing that there were the indigenous Japanese people, their bones were found in parts of America. So
Whoa.
I'm not sure if that fact was known when the story was written. So maybe like descendants of Yamato to Phoenix to America. I don't know.
That's
Maybe. Yeah.
Or she could just flown there. I don't know. She can fly. It's a bird. Fine.
Also, I guess this is a good time to talk about this since I didn't get a chance to in future. But I like the character of the robot and how it insists it's like human. I mean, I guess the one in future insists that it's not human, but it understands emotions anyway. But I don't know. I like that character.
well, because they were the same, right? Because at the end of so I see that's the kind of shit. It's like I need to reread. Like, okay, this character is not just a robot. It is a person and a robot in the same shell, like
so
coexisting.
Yeah, like well, it's like the clone, the offspring of such a thing, I guess.
There's also this one idea about how the exploitation of the lower class gets moved to robots because they can do that shit now. So there's no concern for there's less concern for the environment because people are more removed from it, because when you see the main character basically fucked, afterwards he was seeing that there's all this waste that's going around, but he didn't know about and most of the other people didn't know about. So I imagine it's kind of like he's saying that because people are removed from the lower areas of production, they don't see the pollution and all this stuff that happens because of it, and hence don't care. They just don't see it.
They don't have the perspective. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But that was just one page. A lot of this stuff was like, we'll have an idea in one page, but it'll bring it up throughout the story in some ways. Like, another side point from Yamato was like how the prison planet they were in was a constant cycle of like everything that falls down comes back to the same position after a period of time. So I guess it's kind of like there's a cycle to life, but maybe humans fuck it up. But yeah, that's what I thought of it. So yeah, there's a lot of recurring ideas from stories. It's hard to talk about one story in isolation. So yeah.
Interesting. So
oh yeah, they also in the moon where this guy who had the robot girlfriend, when he's like he pushes a button and she becomes an asshole to a nice person like immediately.
Yeah, he changes the personality. That's right.
That kind of reminded me of the tsundere trope. That's right now. I was like, oh yeah, that kind of reminds me of this thing. Huh.
That's kind of funny. So, SDMG or Nunmanji, do you have anything to say?
No.
No, this one was another boring one for me.
Maybe you just don't like robots as SDMG. Maybe you're racist.
Well, maybe it's interesting to comment about the fact that the robot reciprocated the love that the human robot guy gave with her, or what shared thing. Even though she's like full robot at that point.
Yeah, I think that it's like Phoenix is like no matter who you are, um, you're alive and precious. So even robots can obtain humanity. So I think that was very good for pushing that idea.
Let's see.
Sure.
Also,
All right.
towards the end, the way the plot unfolded was really weird to me. Like how
Yeah, with
the
the space
lady
pirate lady.
wanted, yeah, was like, why did you go to all this trouble? You could just shot the guy and shot yourself. Instead of like, oh, I'm gonna like fuck with his plane so that he'll crash, and while he's going to the plane, he'll shoot me. I'm like, what the fuck? Did
Yeah, it
you
was
understand? I was like, what? Why did you find significance in that? Was it like she wanted to commit suicide, but she didn't want to? So she kind of orchestrated it, I guess. Maybe
I
the
don't fully
houses are
remember,
skewed
so I
in
don't know.
Japan. I don't really get why it was done in a roundabout way.
Yeah, I don't fully remember, so I have no idea.
So Shane, that's for the host.
What I read, well, see, it's like I read it a couple weeks ago, expecting to read the other half, but then I didn't read the other half because obviously, So anyway, last one, nostalgia.
Oh boy. Okay. Nostalgia was pretty good. Or, whoa, no.
Nunmanji hates it, so why don't you start?
I didn't say I hated it. I just said it's easy the weakest.
It's okay, none.
Like
Let it
if it's
all
not
out.
on your bottom, then what's wrong with you? Are you even human?
I read it this morning, so I don't have my thoughts together on it. So this morning, as in like 2 or 3 hours ago, I'm kind of like still processing. Most of the other ones I have been like thinking about it for a while, so not sure about nostalgia yet. So I might have more to say about it in the next.
But yeah, this one was kind of fucking weird. Okay, so to sum it up, a couple they basically bought a planet to live on in complete privacy. It's complete shit. It's almost uninhabitable.
Yeah,
But
they
that
get
light,
ripped off because 80s real estate agent rip off.
yeah. But life finds a way. That way being
When mommies and
The
children
way-
love each other very much,
yeah.
they get together and have more babies, and then the mommy
Right,
goes
like
to sleep for 20 years and
so
has
she could
babies
have
with her babies. And the
and like
cycle.
this dude's genes are so dominant that like she is in almost none of her children whatsoever. And like that, so it's just
Lucky
I
her.
remember they also said that she was in high school when she left Earth. I was like, oh, okay.
yeah,
I
it's
remember them
just
explicitly bringing that up. I was like, okay, good to know. And then I was like, what the fuck?
yeah, I don't know what Tezuka's doing there. But
See, in Volume 1, it was like, okay, incest is bad. I think the author agreed. But I'm not even sure. There's a lot of religious symbolism brought up as well.
oh yeah, like a bunch of the kids and her were named after religious, and at the end you have one of it's called Sodom, right? Because it gets destroyed, or
Oh.
yeah, the city or the planet, I forget what it was, but anyway, so yeah, she through generational incest and eventually a Moopy, she does give birth to basically a whole civilization. Then she gets nostalgic for Earth, and she boards like a fucking like rock magic spaceship, and
With
like
with a
with
little
one of the
ant guy.
kids,
He was
yeah.
cool. I liked him. He was
And
blind.
they like fly around and they sort of gather other like including the motherfucker from space.
Makimura,
Yes,
yeah.
my favorite character, Maki Mura, the best guy.
Which,
I
like I
don't like
said,
him.
I lost my shit because I was like, "What the fuck?" It's just one of those connections suddenly.
I
coming out of
imagine
nowhere.
this is before the point where he tried to eat his wife.
Yeah.
Probably.
It doesn't matter. He was weird the whole time.
Yeah. The different planets they go through was also weird. One that
Like
was
the
like, it's so hot. Another one that's so cold. and there's
The one
like
that
a
stuck out
species
to me.
that fuck, like they basically fuck themselves to have children.
Yeah.
So
The one that stuck out to me was like the complete replica of Earth, but the floor was electrified. That was like very improbable, but it's whatever.
That one
and
was
then
unique.
and the reasoning for why the kid doesn't get electrocuted is like he's small. I'm like, okay, sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
Makimura
This
tries
bo-
to have his way with the old lady.
The old lady. Yeah.
171 years old to be exact.
Yeah.
131.
Oh,
Yeah.
also the rat guy. He wasn't like
Oh, yeah,
fully
the rat
evil,
guy.
but he wasn't like a good person in
Yes,
any way.
Yeah, he introduced capitalism and hedonism to the
Oh, okay.
to the world and
Big
destroyed it.
words again. Crap
Yeah.
script. Jesus.
What Tezuka? I think he's trying to say we live in a society.
Whoa, that's a little too deep for me, buddy-o.
But it's like immediate too. Like he's just like, here, have drugs and guns, and then the fucking like within like the overnight, the whole the planet's just fucked, like completely.
He's not even
fucked.
like drugs and guns. He's like, I'm gonna put a drug in your vices, and everyone is like, oh, I'm gonna take this. Basically,
Well,
consumerism.
he put something in the water to make it worse, right?
Yeah. To like
So-
instill it. I think it was like they mentioned that they evolved all these traits that humanity's evolved over several generations.
And he drops him in what? Like honestly, that rat motherfucker might be my least favorite character. Like, well, and like
What?
not, in that I fucking hate him. Like, well, maybe not my least favorite, but it's like he's supposed to be hateable. He's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he fucking like died in an earthquake.
So is he your most memorable character?
I mean, I think my favorite is probably like Gao, probably because I liked his character arc. But the
Gao-
rat bitch, I want to drop kick is what I'm trying to say.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He was I don't know. He was kind of humanized a little bit. Like he wasn't 100% evil. He was like he just was extremely selfish. Was the main part.
Yeah, like I feel like at
I
every
remember him
opportunity
getting pretty
he was trying
emotional
to-
when the the 2-person race thing died. What are they called?
I know what you're talking. It was the two minds in one being that reproduced with itself, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was fucking. Yeah.
They live to reproduce, and they die when they do. That was fun. But
Yeah, there's constantly cannibalism. So that was a thing.
wait, which one had cannibalism in it? I feel like one of them did.
Nostalgia. When
Right.
Like when Kane was gonna die and his kids were gonna die because
Oh,
of
right.
It's like,
When-
oh,
and
this
Forgot about that.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
she woke up and she's like the woman woke up and she's like, fuck. There's a lot of I like how it's like Tezuka writes this story that's like what the fuck, and then sometimes the characters evoke my personal feelings where I'm just like, wait, what the fuck? And they're like,
Yeah.
also what the fuck? Like
It's probably due
Yeah.
to all the inbreeding.
This is like this is probably the first story you would probably forget that cannibalism came up.
Yeah.
It's like,
Because
oh
of
yeah, I
all-
forgot cannibalism.
that's
came
not
up.
even like the weirdest or darkest thing in here by a long shot. Like, yeah, it's just oh yeah, there was a bit of cannibalism.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Like it's just
Good times. But yeah, I like.
a lot of okay.
Go ahead,
on,
go ahead,
yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh yeah, I liked a lot of the alien. They're just so weird, and like how, especially the 2-person, they're like, "Oh, do we just exist to reproduce, right?" And I was kind of like,
Yeah.
like the
I like their
it kind of
costume.
puts the whole story into perspective. Of like how heritage is valued so much. It's kind of like, is it even valuable anymore? So kind of that.
Yeah.
What about you, Kitty?
Well, I like that little kid character. I already said this, but he was fun. He was fun to watch him go along, and in the end, he got turned into a flower. So
Yeah.
I mean,
When you're
not.
really woke, you just become a flower. Become
Yeah.
one with nature.
I liked how he like was blind. I mean, it wasn't a big deal because he could still do stuff, but I thought it was an interesting character quirk. And he was so innocent,
Yeah.
and he just wanted to help her without any ulterior motives. Like sex or anything.
Yeah, he's just a kid. He's pure. Yeah.
Is that
So the reason the Mopi race was able to survive on the planet was because of the Phoenix, right? Because it stopped all the earthquakes from happening into a specific range.
Yes.
So I imagine when the Mopi kid went outside that range, that's where the earthquake started happening again. Because Phoenix didn't want the kid, to go find the spaceship and leave. So I imagine that's what I think was happening. So yeah. Like, I didn't even realize that the Phoenix stopped the earthquakes until, like, when it got brought up later on. So,
sorry to interrupt, but was the Chizuru robot the one from Resurrection?
Yes, it
The
was.
very same?
It was the girl specifically that
Right.
I'm not sure if it was the very same because there are billions of them, right?
I think it had the same name though. Like I'm pretty sure Tezuka was making a deliberate connection there. Like I don't see any other reason why he would make that specific model of robot a thing if it wasn't the same one.
Makes sense.
Yeah. There was a lot of talk about how people are killing, not letting new people in, even though there are billions of here on Earth, which is totally fine. And there was also the thought about how the robot helped the people escape, even the humans were trying to kill each other. There was also He's also like, I guess a lot of this would be a lot relevant to space race because everyone's like, oh, we're gonna go to different planets and colonize there.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of like, yeah, we can't handle an Earth that's built for us, and all these other planets just want to kill you. So good luck with that. So kind of.
It's interesting how. It's interesting how they ultimately gave up on colonization.
Yeah.
It says so in future or whatever. I feel like that could have been an actual option, and I think they gave up too quick. But maybe it wasn't.
I mean, there's a planet that electrocutes you, so I'm not sure how you live there.
You know what? I have 2 words for you: rubber gloves. Okay, I read Spider-Man.
No, rubber shoes.
All shoes are rubber now.
I think you just need a rubber
No, you need a rubber planet, and you need to throw the rubber planet at the electrified one, and then just see what happens.
Whoa.
It'll work. Trust me.
Wait, no. They'll just gain a resistance to it over time, and the gloves will become their skin.
Exactly.
I mean, like the 2-in-1 people lived in a really planet, but they couldn't live there. So.
Wait, would an electrified planet be a source of infinite energy?
You're onto something.
Infinite.
Whoa.
Yeah, like renewable energy, sure.
Well, maybe not infinite, but close? Is there such thing?
I mean, it's renewable, but there's nothing quote unquote, like there's a limitation on what you can point in time, I guess. But for all intents and purposes, yeah, sure.
Dang.
You're really happy with that, aren't you, Katie?
Extremely happy. I just solved everything.
Yeah, you just have to go to a fictional planet.
Well, that may be a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I guess
anything else to say?
I didn't take as much as this from this one, because it's about love. Like, okay, minor gripe. Like, I don't know. It's like, a story. Like, I don't mind romance stories, but like, if it's just about love and like nothing, just the vague concept of love, and it doesn't try to say anything about love, like fuck that. Like, basically what I'm saying is fuck the Matrix.
Also,
it's boring and it sucks.
Also, the love plot totally glossed over me because you forget who George is for most of it.
That's right. He dies by like page 20.
Yeah,
and then it's like, there's still 400 pages to go.
He drowns in like the worst way. It was kind of scary. His death scene. It was like, yikes! Slowly drowning, knowing your time is coming.
Reading all the stuff in the manga, that you found that a scary death. I was like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that. Drowned or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I like stories that are more critical of love, I guess, because it agrees with me basically.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So,
I just love love.
what do you guys think of the fact that this is a shonen story?
Neat.
A lot of rape. A lot of rape for a shonen, which is a problem for me because I always classified them as if it has rape, it's a seinen. If it doesn't have rape, it's a shonen. This
Well,
has confused me.
You must not have read Frankenfran. Also
I
shonen. Also a lot of gore and rape. Much more graphic too.
no,
Magazine.
no.
Yeah, because I was thinking like because
Oh.
Tezuka also wrote seinen stories, so like if this is a new shonen story, what is an seinen story? You read one of it.
Yeah, that demographic is generally pretty arbitrary, so whatever. But like,
Ugh.
you know, it's shonen because it was published in a magazine that was like, we're trying to, you know, kids are gonna buy this. So, but then
I mean,
teenage is also technically shonen demographic as long as it's under 18. So
Yeah.
like, if it's targeted
Yeah.
at 17-year-olds, then it's still shonen, even though like 17, that's the perfect age to enjoy edgy shit. So I don't
Yeah.
know,
I
or
mean,
even younger for edgy
he
shit.
started the magazine with a bunch of friends. So I would have thought he would have made a seinen to make a story like this.
Like,
Like, did you feel like Message to Adolf was darker than this, Pastor?
Or what was that?
Did you think Message to Adolf was darker than this, Pastor? You read it, right?
Yeah, I read it, but it didn't like. I don't remember how much it focused on the actual like World War II aspect. Like, I mean, obviously it was there, but it's like it was more of a back like the character. It was more about the characters like existing in that time period than actually like like there was some dark. This is definitely Phoenix is like the darkest thing I've read from Tezuka for sure.
yeah,
Let's see. Huh.
yeah,
Maybe it's just that kids don't like history, but this history, but with like goofy shit there.
Well, and yeah,
So,
because there's usually a lot of humor during this, and it's you know it's so
yeah.
yeah.
Something weird is like, the story is obviously meant for younger children or younger people, and like, it introduces the fact that a child can have sex with his own mother. I feel like that's not a good thing to introduce to a child, and then there's like no drawbacks, and it's never
maybe it's
morally questioned.
as I mentioned before, like this came over a long period of time, so maybe the audience have grown up,
Yeah, well,
but kids can still buy it.
it's all well. It's also the other thing is like it's not presented as normal. Like it's an it's extreme course of
Yeah.
action for an extreme situation.
Yeah, the
So-
Phoenix was
Yeah,
like,
they're not
she did the
usually
unthinkable, or whatever.
So, but
I-
it's not portrayed as wrong, but it's not like portrayed as normal either. Like it's not. This is if they were just like living in a house and just a normal family, like yeah, let's do the incest, and it was just treated as a casual thing. Then that would be interesting for a different reason. Like what the fuck?
Yeah, interesting is the first word I'd go to as
Like
well.
when the fox guy came back and he's gonna like take the wife away, and she was like, "Nah, fuck," and she kind of looks hysterical, I guess, with the shadow.
Oh, I liked how she looked on that page. Yeah, she's just like she's
Yeah.
pissed off.
Yeah, she's like, no, she's gonna go through it, and I'm like, oh no.
Everybody
Yeah.
wanted her.
Yeah, I mean, she was literally the only woman there. So, yeah. How would you rank the stories, Crash 4?
Oh fuck!
We
You guys
need
go
that.
first. I need to figure it out.
All right, I will take the first step and start. Okay, so I think my favorite was Future. It was, and then my second favorite was Karma. Then my third favorite, probably Dawn. I think. Fourth favorite, Yamamoto, that one.
Yamato, yeah.
Sure, yeah. And then the fifth one, maybe Nostalgia. I like that kid a lot. And then
Yeah.
and Resurrection was kind of boring for me. So Thin Resurrection. Is there one I'm missing?
Yeah,
there were
Resurrection
There were
is the
7
one.
stories total.
I got
yeah.
6, I think. What I miss?
Nostalgia got Space. Where did you
Space,
rank
yeah.
Oh,
Space?
Space. Space was kind of nothing, but I think it was. Nah, Space is down there. It didn't have anything to do. Except for introducing Makimura, the best character.
I'll go with mine then.
You go for it.
Karma, better than Future, better than Space, and then Dawn, Yamato, and Resurrection Nostalgia are about the same for me, but I have to think about Nostalgia a bit more.
Yeah.
Read it like a few hours ago.
Nostalgia's end was actually pretty good. Now that I think about it, I liked how.
Yeah, I got more invested as I went, which is also
Yeah.
for Resurrection, so they'd be more interesting if I read them.
Oh, I liked the last sunset sort of thing. It was neat.
Yeah.
Um,
Crashcore?
or what
Wait,
about
no.
Nunmanji and SDMG?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'll go ahead, sure.
Go for it.
The first one for me, my personal favorite will always be Karma. Second will be Yamato. Wait, no. The second one will be Dawn. And then the third one will be
Yeah.
Future. Then the fourth one will be Yamato. Then the fifth one will be Resurrection. Then the sixth one will be Space.
So, and the
I
seventh
left
is
one.
Nostalgia.
Nostalgia. Yeah,
Nostalgia.
I didn't really like Nostalgia. I thought it was cool and all, but personally, not my cup of tea.
What, you don't like incest?
Who doesn't like it?
No, Nostalgia is my least favorite too. I just thought it was no one likes incest. Nunmanji, do yours.
Future, Karma, Resurrection.
You cut out for a bit.
You cut out after Resurrection. Future, Karma, Resurrection.
Oh, I have to
Yamato,
know.
Dawn, Space, Nostalgia.
Okay,
Cool,
so
cool.
mine would be Karma, then Future, then Resurrection and Dawn are about the same. Then Yamato, then Space, then Nostalgia. So
Yeah.
okay. So yeah, I think we're about done. It's almost only been 2.5 hours, so I think this maybe some of the Kingdom episodes are longer, but this was pretty long.
Have
So
fun,
anyway,
man.
yeah. So thank you for joining me, and thank you for listening. Next month we will be reading Ao Haru Ride or Blue Spring Ride for February, doing the romance, and then in March we will be finishing Kingdom with the other.
You mean Phoenix?
Damn
Wait,
it.
we have to do the podcast over. This is like fourth time, Craftsdorf.
We have to do the entire podcast over. Okay, what did you guys think about Dawn? No, but like a phoenix, the podcast has to be reborn, and we have to continue the cycle. We have to encircle the themes. The podcast is a cycle, just like life, just like the universe. Anyway, I mean the other half of Phoenix in March. That's what I meant to say.
Oh yeah, another.
No, maybe we should do it.
Was that?
Or go on.
April is like a significant Buddha date somewhere. I don't remember, and there's also the month of rebirth for Christianity. So Buddha would be a good manga.
Yep.
Cover on
I know exactly the manga we might do for April.
Yeah.
Oh, would it have to do with telling lies?
Anyway, thank you for listening. We
What is
will.
it? I need to
I will see you
know.
next time. Goodbye.
See ya.